Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to NRRL Sunday 100% Realistic Tier. We are here for Season 1, Round 5. It is the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix here around Imola. My name is JP, I am your commentator. Joining me in the commentary booth tonight is my brother Lewis. Good evening, how are you doing?
I'm good. Looking forward to this. A different type of race than we are normally used to, but it should be a little bit like Hungary, a somewhat similar circuit. Very, very difficult to pass on. So qualifying is very important. So the driver's going to have to be at their best. Looking forward to this one.
It should hopefully be a great race. Imola is always normally a good race, especially in league racing. I myself in league racing have had massive success around here. But it's always one of those ones, it's almost like a karting track. It's very fun. The corners, the corner profiles are incredible. Watching these modern day F1 cars around this legendary, iconic track is always incredible. And hopefully our 17 drivers tonight can really put that on show.
Absolutely. Now, a few lower numbers than what we're used to, but it still should be a good race. Now, as we say, qualifying very important here due to obviously how thin the circuit is. It's very, very difficult to pass here, but obviously one that is steeped in tradition and history. Jack, when it comes to you here, when you're a driver looking at this circuit, what is your thoughts when you're coming out on your outlap?
Honestly, I just love this circuit. It's one of my favorite places to drive. I just love the atmosphere, the whole, just the entire track. It's really one of my favorite tracks when we come to Imola. And, you know, just to even be here today and commentate, I absolutely love it. And on my outlap, I'm just thinking, let's get on with this. Let's go. I'm excited for it. I'm excited today to see these drivers around Imola as we see DJ Sully, the first man on a lap, really attacking the curbs into the first chicane. It's just such a fun track to drive. I absolutely love it round here. Now, I do want to make it quite clear. We've got Eltheniel tonight in the Mercedes, who is reserving for Lucho, so Eltheniel won't score any points. That is the same with Quincy, and that is also the same with Ryan Brooks. So those three drivers will not be scoring World Championship points tonight. However, they will be up towards the sharp end of the grid. They will be racing hard, and it will be incredible action to see.
Absolutely. They will not be driving as if they're reserves. They'll be still going for that victory, which is what you want to see. Should make the race far more entertaining for us. I've been keeping on board with DJ Sully, as you say, the first person out on his lap, and he seems like he has been somewhat struggling, maybe not as clean a lap as he would like. Luckily for him, he does have 14 minutes extra to get in another or potentially another 2 laps in as he comes around the final corner and across the line. Now it's a 17.2, so not an awful lap time, but you would expect drivers to go faster than that, as we've seen Dan Lovett, his teammate, 4 tenths or just under 4 tenths quicker. That's a decent lap from him. Gav goes 16.9 into P2, so session times already slowly coming down. Quincy 16.6. It's looking good so far for Quincy.
And there we are. We know that some of these drivers are quick, and especially
Wow.
when you look at someone like Ryan Brooks, a 15.9, the first man already to break into the 1 minute 15s. We know he is a very quick driver, as is McKellar, who goes P3. So Kick Sauber, as much as Ryan is reserving, looking very, very quick so far. The Williams guys are always normally up there. We've obviously got people like Sab Gaming. Sean goes to the top of the
Fantastic.
time standings with a 1:15.7. Now, after last week in Hungary, we know that CRBT is our championship leader. However, when I look up and down the grid, I can't see CRBT, so he is not racing today, which could have huge implications for the World Championship.
Absolutely. For people like Sab and Dan Lovett, now is your time to pounce. We've spoke a lot in recent weeks about when drivers like BT or Dan Lovett or Sab have had poor performances or some bad luck in races. You need to take that opportunity when you get them. With this, regardless of what happens, he's not scoring any points. So now is really your best shot. Score some points now, build up a little bit of a gap or reduce it slightly, because at the end of the season, with how tight that can be, the title fight, there will only be a couple of points in it. So this is a huge chance for the likes of Sab and Dan Lovett to gain, and it's one they have to take.
Exactly that. Now, if we do look at the championship standings, we've got BT, who is in the lead of the championship. Dan Lovett only 2 points behind him. So only scoring 2 points would take Dan Lovett to the lead of the championship. We had Sab Gaming, who was the championship leader going into Hungary. He's 10 points off the lead, 8 points off of Dan. We know he's always normally up there, so that will be one to keep an eye on as well, as he is slotted in P2 with a 1:15.908. We've then got Mr. Jabe, who hasn't really been up towards the sharp end, but has been consistently scoring points. He is also not racing tonight, so he will be a big loser in this Grand Prix. We've got Gavboy, who is in the Red Bull. Again, one of the men that's very consistent. He's not really fighting for the podiums or the wins, but he's constantly scoring points, and that's keeping him in check. We've then got Meldrum in 6th, who we've seen an incredible turn of pace from in the last two-ish Grand Prix. Took pole in Australia, took pole in Hungary. He has been absolutely rapid. And as he now goes on to his lap, he will be a very interesting driver to watch. We know we've got a few new guys. We've got Ryan Brooks, who's reserving, who can be very quick. Sean is obviously very quick at this particular circuit. We've got Sab Gaming, who we know led the championship. We've got Josh, who is always up there. McKellar, who absolutely dominated last night during the F2. We've got Dan Lovett, who, like I say, only needs to score 2 points to take the lead of the championship. This qualifying and this Grand Prix are going to be mega, and especially towards the World Championship, very, very important.
Absolutely. McKellar goes 3/10 faster. I think he remains P5. I believe he might have been P6 beforehand. He will be certainly one to keep an eye on yesterday. Didn't start from pole in either of the races, but won them both with some fantastic overtakes. Really one to keep an eye on. That racing IQ and speed, exactly what you need if you're trying to fight for a title. It was scintillating stuff from him yesterday. Very intriguing to see him around a circuit, which, as I say, is somewhat similar to Hungary, but does provide different challenges. He should be up there, I'd expect.
I completely agree. Now, as Meldrum finishes his flying lap, only 10th for Meldrum, so he definitely won't be happy with that. We know that he's pretty quick, so I'm sure that maybe there was a mistake on that lap or something's gone on, but we know that he is much quicker than P10, so he will be one definitely to keep an eye on. Murray Elliott has gone purple in the first sector. I'm not sure if that's true. Sometimes there are glitches with the timing screens, but purple is showing up in the middle sector for Murray Elliott, a man that can have very quick flashes of pace, almost like a Valtteri Bottas. On his day, very, very quick. Maybe just not consistently enough towards the front. We've seen, obviously, he's used a lot of battery in that first sector, and as he now comes to the middle, it's a 51-0 split. That is decent. Now, if we take a look towards the Constructors' Championship, Alpine currently lead by 32 points. Incredible turn of speed from them. Obviously, only one driver from them racing today in the form of Sab Gaming, one of the quicker drivers, so he definitely will be scoring points, you would imagine. Williams are then 32 points behind them. We know the Williams guys can be very consistent. Dan Lovett, DJ Sully, a very good team working together. Both relatively up there so far, so definitely a team to keep an eye on. We've then got McLaren in third, Meldrum and Bruiser. Bruiser has struggled this season. He's normally been towards the back, but I definitely can imagine him picking up some good points. Meldrum, obviously, with pole for the last 2 weekends, he will be one to keep an eye on. A bit penalty, what's the word? He likes to get a good penalty, shall we say, but Meldrum, very, very quick driver, scoring a lot of points. Ferrari are then only 1 point off of McLaren. We know Ferrari have had some very difficult weekends, but Murray Elliott and Jim Strav, both drivers that can have a very quick turn of speed. We've then got Aston Martin, who are in 5th. Josh, obviously, always normally up towards the front. And we've got Quincy, who is reserving for them today. Red Bull are in 6th. Again, another team that have struggled a bit, but Gavboy, very consistent in scoring points. Then we have Sauber, and this could be a very big weekend for Sauber, with the likes of Ryan Brooks reserving. We've got McKellar, who has shown a massive turn of speed in the last sort of week or so, as Wiz Jokies now goes P9 for Haas, who are currently last in the Constructors. They've only scored in 2 events, those being Catalonia and Australia. But again, as we now see Anarchy come to the line, goes P12 and beats Meldrum, everything is up for grabs. This is round 5. There are only 3 rounds after this event, those being Brazil, Bahrain, and USA. So it'll be very interesting to see how those events go. But we are already entering the closing stages of the championship.
Wow. Sorry to interrupt you there. I was watching Sab's lap, a very, very strong lap there. Quincy up to third as well, all within a tenth of each other. That Sab lap, I was very surprised he didn't take pole. That was a consistent lap, something you'd expect out of him. But it seemed like he was just flying there. But Sean, what a lap that must have been. I wasn't able to catch all of it. To see himself onto provisional pole, but Sab and Quincy right behind him. And this is what we'd expect in NRRL, sorry. Very, very close between everyone at the top.
Exactly. It is normally close towards the sharp end, and Sean is 43 milliseconds down, but he has gone wide, and that is a bit of a mistake from the provisional pole sitter. He will obviously come in, get a fresh set of boots on, come out for another lap. Ryan Brooks on his lap invalidated, but he will be going again. The kick Sauber is obviously working well. Obviously, this is realistic performance, but these drivers are very, very quick. Ryan Brooks does come into the pits. Josh also invalidated. McKellar in the other kick Sauber is now currently on a lap. He is up towards the sharp end as well. About 4/10 off a fifth, but definitely time to be gained for the Sauber driver. As he comes through the second chicane, we look at that sector 1 split, and he is 2/10 up on his previous lap. So he is gaining and is making that car work well. If he can maintain that sort of gain, he will be seeing himself move up in this session. Dan Lovett is also, he's just done a lap, I believe, with a 16.8. He has moved himself up. Couple of cars in the pits, couple of cars out. We've got 4 cars that are yet to set a lap, but McKellar is 3.5 up. It doesn't look like it's going to be a pole lap, but it's definitely going to move him up at least 1 position and a lot closer to his teammate. Anarchy has retired on the main straight. We'll see if we can catch what's happened to him as McKellar rounds the final corner. And that is very, very weird place to retire for Anarchy, but he is out of the session as McKellar does move ahead of his teammate. 6/10 gain up into 4th.
Fantastic lap from him there, showing the speed that we know he has. As you say, a real improvement in performance, not just speed, but the ability in the races we've seen. Obviously, as we say yesterday, a fantastic display from him. Definitely one that you'd think will be up there again. And he goes past his teammate, but just so incredibly close. And you see they're only 6 milliseconds off of P3. As we've said time and time again, even mistakes don't cost you time here. It's just the slightest things can be the difference between pole and P5.
Interestingly enough, Sean is going for another lap on those tyres and is a 10th up in the first sector, but he has a spin. And that is the issue with those old worn tyres. He chose to go onto them, and in sector 1 he was flying, but they don't hold on for long, these soft compound tyres, and that is going to be the problem. So he will obviously come back in. He will have enough time to go back in, get on a fresh set of tyres, come back out, as we now watch Jim Strav in the Ferrari, one of 4 cars yet to set a lap. He will be looking to try and get himself up there. His teammate currently in 12th with a 17.3. He will be hoping to beat that. As everyone knows, rule number 1 of F1, beat your teammate.
Absolutely. They'll be looking to outscore each other as much as possible. As everyone now starts to prepare themselves for their final laps, I'm on board with the man here on his outlap, Sab, looking for some clean air to not get distracted by this Ferrari up ahead. Now, if you're Sab here, Jack, what is going through your mind? As you know, this is a huge advantage for you, and you don't really need to improve too much to get onto pole. Where would your mentality be at?
Before I answer that, Sean is going for another lap on those tyres, and you would assume this will be his this will be his final run. 3 laps on those soft tyres. We haven't seen Sean really towards the front, but he is half a tenth up. We haven't seen him towards the front too much in qualifying, nor in the races, so this is a very interesting strategy from the VCarb driver. Sab going onto this lap though, you know you don't have to gain too much time, so you want to push as hard as you can, but Imola, very easy to invalidate your lap time, so you have to be careful, as Sean is absolutely flying on those old tyres, 2/10 up. They are sticking with him. I can't believe what I'm seeing here. You would have never thought that this would work, but Sean is absolutely flying. He is the man on provisional pole. The VCarb is working an absolute treat as he comes round the final corner. Have they held together in the final sector? Sean to the line does improve. It is a 15.6. He improved by about half a tenth. And like you say, Lewis, in the first sector, Sab was down and he's invalidated. So he is going to get another chance. But the first lap on those tyres will have been worn out. Thing is, though, if Sean proves that they can work while they're used, surely Sab can as well. We've got McKellar, who is on an out lap. Ryan Brooks was on a lap, but is also invalidated. Josh is now on a lap as well. This is getting incredible.
Absolutely is Sab now. He knows it is now or never. And if you're Sean, great lap to improve there, but you will be just slightly looking over your shoulder as a 10th is not too much difference. Not as comfortable as you would like. As he gets through the first chicane, nice and steady. Definitely a track where you need to feel like you're on train tracks here, as he's going to get held up by the Mercedes. The Mercedes goes off, and he's down nearly
second down.
A second.
That definitely held him up. Did that Mercedes. I saw his throttle input and his brake input. He had to lift off, and that is a lot of time to try and gain back. If he were to, he could slow down again and go for another lap. But he isn't doing that. He is still in the hot lap ERS mode. He is still going for it. As he now comes towards the Sector 2 split. He is a second down. He should have backed out of this lap. But there isn't time left. As we've now got Quincy, who's on his out lap. We've got McKellar, who now starts his flying lap. Ryan Brooks has gone purple in the first sector. Nearly 4/10 up. So now the pendulum swings towards Sauber. The reserve driver who showed an incredible turn of pace on Friday, won the pre-season, is flying. Sab comes into the pits. That is his qualifying over. McKellar has invalidated, so that Sauber will not improve. But Ryan is nearly 6/10 up. Incredible stuff from the reserve driver. We know he's quick. Is he quick enough? This lap would be more than enough to take him to pole position. He has never raced in this tier before. He is reserving for the worst car on the grid. But Ryan, with an absolute bag of experience and the pace, comes to the line, and it is pole position for Ryan Brooks, a 15.4.
And Quincy's in the gravel.
Quincy cannot hamper him. Neither can McKellar. It all comes down to Josh, who invalidates at the final corner. That is your lot. Ryan Brooks in the Sauber. Take a bow.
Fantastic lap from him. We said about it, you have to feel like round here you're driving on train tracks, and he was definitely on them. The car was not going to move in a way he didn't want whatsoever. A phenomenal lap, and when you can hook it up round here, it must be so incredibly satisfying to do it. Phenomenal stuff. A 2/10 gap, which isn't too much, but in this league, it absolutely is a fairly big gap with how close we're used to seeing the qualifying gaps. That's a fantastic lap on his first outing on Sundays.
Incredible stuff from the Sauber driver. We have that as your lot then. Ryan Brooks with an incredible pole position. Sean comes in at second with Sab Gaming in third. It is Quincy who will be in fourth. McKellar in fifth. Josh in sixth. Gavboy in seventh. Dan Lovett in eighth. Meldrum in ninth. DJ Sully in 10th. Wiz Jokies 11th. RJ Batten 12th with Murray Elliott in 13th. Anarchy and Jim Strav both retired. They are 14th and 15th with Bruiser and Althenial failing to set a time, but they will start 16th and 17th Incredible lap from Ryan. Sean, who isn't normally up there, starts on the front row. Sab Gaming will get that toe down to turn 1, which can be crucial. Quincy also puts himself on the second row as a reserve. Michela watches his teammate pole position while he is only about 6 milliseconds behind 4th. Josh is also very, very close in that fight. This is going to be an electric Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix.
Absolutely, and one-way strategy will dictate a lot. As we've said in this session, very, very difficult to overtake, easy to make a mistake and invalidate. Strategy will play a huge part around here. But I'm going to throw a question to you here, Jack. You're Ryan Brooks. You've just set that fabulous lap time, and you know the potential of the drivers behind you, not just in speed, but their ability to overtake. How are you going to approach this when you're lining up first on the grid?
I think I've got confidence in abundance if I'm Ryan Brooks. My first session on Sundays, I've taken pole position by 2.5 tenths of a second. That is a big gap in this league, and I will have no doubt in my mind that I've got the minerals to go on and win this race. We've now got a 5-minute break before the Grand Prix begins, so we have a little bit of time to debrief about what we've just seen. Incredible stuff. And while we are here talking about the incredible pace of Ryan Brooks, I would like to swing it to a little bit of a plug for the league. The Super League is going to be coming to you very, very soon. The 20 best drivers in NRRL will take 2 tracks all around the world for the NRRL Super League. Like I say, the 20 best drivers in the league will be competing. Possible sponsorship for the tier, prize money involved. This is the ultimate NRRL league, and this is the one that everyone will want to qualify for and take part in. And not only take part in, but win. We don't know when that's coming. It is something that's a bit I can't even say the word. It's something that's it's going to happen in the future, most likely. But we're not sure of any timings or when it's going to happen, what day. But stick with us on social medias. We have TikTok. We've got Instagram. Follow us over there. Follow us on Twitch. You don't want to miss any of the action. Next week, we have got 6 days of racing coming up for you, including Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, all streamed to you live on this Twitch channel. You don't want to miss a day of the action, so hit the follow button down below to make sure that you are part of the team and you are watching every single race as these drivers battle it out for the big dog positions.
Absolutely. I've seen some of what we believe will be the field in that Super League, and it is just filled with quality. Some new faces that me and Jack are familiar with, and some faces you'll be familiar with from the championships here. It's so difficult to call. I wouldn't even be able to tell you if I was a betting man who I'd put my money on, but I can guarantee it will be chaotic and it will be fantastic.
5 red lights ahead of the drivers then, ahead of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and it is lights out, and away we go. Ryan Brooks gets away well from pole position, but Sean is right with him. Are we going to see a Max Verstappen-esque move round the outside of turn 1? Ryan defends well and keeps that position. Sab runs into the gravel. That will give Quincy impotence as he now looks to the inside of the second chicane. He is more than alongside with Sab, the long-time championship leader. Quincy is forced wide, and now into Tozer we go. Still wheel to wheel between 3rd and 4th. Quincy wins out. We've got a bit of contact in the background there, but they are still very close together. Quincy gets the position. They all seem to be through fine though, but the dream start for Ryan Brooks.
Absolutely. I was on board with him off the line. It seemed like a bit of a nervy start, but he managed to hold it well together and fend off Sean, as we have a 10-second penalty for Meldrum, a collision with Dan Lovett. Lovett all the way down to last.
Big damage as well for the Williams. Massive damage on that front wing. I don't believe Meldrum has any damage, or does he? No, he's missing the front left end plate as we see Eltheniel into the gravel at the 3rd chicane on this track. But lap 1, a dream start for Ryan. But here comes Sean on the race leader. He has never led a race before, Sean. Well, he is definitely going to have a chance here into the 1st chicane. just not late enough on the brakes. Ryan defending well. Incredible stuff as Sab now gets back past Quincy and Michaela gets the move on Josh.
Absolutely incredible stuff. This is a battle I'll be paying close attention to, along with the leaders, as there goes Sean down the inside on Ryan Brooks. They're going to be wheel to wheel up the hill here, as here they go then. Brooks and Sean, who is going to come out on top? There's a slight squeeze. There's slight contact. They managed to get through. All very good racing, and Ryan Brooks manages to hold the lead for an extra bit of time, but this is not over yet. DRS will be enabled down that main straight, and if you're Sean, surely you save the battery here and focus your attack down that main straight. But behind him, none of them can really gain on this, and they are slightly, because they're all busy fighting each other.
Dan Lovett is the big loser on the first 2 laps, down 9 places. Meldrum down 7 after pitting as well. Murray Elliott, we also saw into the pits down 2 positions. The big gainers, Wiz Jokies up 4, Jim Strav Bruiser and Altheniel up 3. As here does come Sean down the main straight and towards turn 1 and 2. Is he going to look for the move? He is not. He will sit behind Ryan for a little bit longer, but does get a better exit out of that chicane. Nothing going for Sean so far, but he is really challenging the race leader. Anarchy, I must give a shout out to as well, up 6 positions. Incredible stuff from the Haas driver.
It's absolutely one of these circuits where even if you're faster, a bit like Hungary last week, that doesn't necessarily mean you will be able to get past easy. It's a very frustrating circuit when you know you're quicker than someone to be stuck behind them in sector 1, because at turn 1 you face the risk of being forced wide or contact and clipping the curb, and at turn 2 there's just no easy way to pass. It really is down the main straight or maybe through here, but he's not close enough. It's such a frustrating circuit to make an overtake. Here I would be thinking, how can I outsmart him on the strategy? And his strategy might just be try and overtake him here. He will have DRS, but is he going to go for it now? He will not. I think that's the smarter decision. But surely down the main straight, although he's got barely any charge, and Ryan Brooks has been saving his, so he's got plenty to fight with.
Sean is really going for this lead, and he is obviously rapid. Not much charge, and Ryan Brooks is having to drain, but to the outside pulls Sean, and on lap 4 of 63, somehow Ryan still manages to defend, and Sean goes wide. Now Sab is going to look at this and think he's got a chance of taking second place, as we've got a yellow flag in sector 1. I believe that was Meldrum who was involved in a bit of a skirmish there. We've got RJ Batten who's going past Gavboy into the second chicane. Gavboy obviously not with enough grip to fight that, but Ryan Brooks, incredible defense from the Sauber driver, just hanging on to the leaders. We've got Sab round. He dipped a few wheels into the gravel, and the long-time championship leader is round behind Sean. There's surely damage on that Alpine. There is. He's missing the front left end plate, but down to 7th. Incredible stuff.
And what we'd been saying all race long, you really need to take advantage of this situation, and the pressure has made him crack. However, we get back to the top 2 here. Sean does have a penalty, but he is close, still barely any charge compared to Ryan. So Ryan definitely playing this a little bit more strategically, but nobody can seemingly get close to each other. Very much a DRS train being formed here. Very, very easy to do that. And here could be a long few laps of pain for those in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and potentially even 5th.
Sab Gaming does come into the pits to change that front wing. Heartbreak for the Alpine driver. As we now look to the tyres, we've got Ryan and Sean who are on the mediums. We've got Quincy on the hards, Josh on the mediums, Michaela on hards, Jokies on mediums. We've got Anarchy as the lone soft runner who has been gaining positions like crazy, so no wonder he is putting those soft tyres to good use. We've then got Batten, Bruiser, Altheniel, Sab and Murray who are all on the medium tyres, and then Gavboy, DJ Sully, Jim Strav, Dan Lovett and Meldrum all on the hards.
Now this must be incredibly frustrating for Sean. You know you've picked up a penalty. However, you just cannot seemingly find a way through. We've all been there before. Quincy, I think, looking in a very good position. If he's not close enough really to make a move, but he is close enough to just take that DRS, get pulled along with him. But unfortunately for him, due to the effects of a DRS train, he's pulling along his teammate just behind, and he's pulling along Michaela. So the top 5, all within a second and a half, or top 2.3 seconds, however, none of them can pull off a move.
Exactly that. It is so difficult when you're stuck in these DRS trains to even think about making a move, especially if you are someone like Quincy, who's about 6/10, 7/10
Here he comes.
off of Sean. But here comes Sean down the inside. An opportunist move. The gap was there from Ryan, and Sean has taken it. And on lap 6 of 63, we have a new race leader. Sean takes the lead. And like you say, Lewis, both Aston Martins are giving it everything. But Sean with a massive snap and is going to lose out to Ryan's teammate, Michaela. So the big team battle here, Aston versus Sauber. But here comes Josh towards the chicane on Ryan. Nothing doing there. Josh also doesn't have much battery, but Ryan has used tons of his battery. And what this has done has pulled Sean away. So Sean is just about out of the DRS duct. Incredible stuff on lap 6. Sean takes the lead, pulls away out of DRS, and surely Ryan is going to be under big threat here.
And Ryan was burning to try and get back into that zone. Josh, however, no charge to fight. It just incredible stuff. Couldn't write it. That was phenomenal for Sean. There was contact, but that is what you expect in racing. Hurt Ryan a lot more than it hurt Sean. And now Ryan has to find a new way to retake the lead.
Michaela got past Josh down the main straight and made it a Sauber 2-3. And the Sauber on hards, now chasing the Sauber on mediums. It does look like Ryan has the better pace as he is now back within that DRS duct. We've got a car round, and that is Anarchy towards the end of Sector 1. He will be heartbroken with that after gaining so many places on the soft tyres. But Michaela now chases down his teammate.
Yeah, and he will be looking to get himself involved in this fight for the race to lead. It's like he's had a taste of victory yesterday, and now he's addicted to it. He will be all over the back of this. He is going to be in the DRS, probably a little bit too far back to make a move, but none of them really have the advantage of battery on each other as they've all been using it around the circuit.
Quincy went for a massive dive bomb on Josh into the penultimate corner, ran very wide and into the gravel. But here comes Ryan for the lead again. It's a simple move down the inside for the Sauber, and he retakes the lead. But Sean is fighting back. He's using the battery. He just doesn't have enough. And on lap 8, after losing the lead on lap 6, Ryan back into the lead.
And Michaela will be watching this, thinking of when he can strike, and they will have to consider that. Is there going to be potentially some team games from Ryan and Michaela here to try and usurp Sean? Sean will be probably thinking of that too, but he is sticking to that Sauber. And could he potentially be eyeing up a move into the chicane here?
I don't think that's the wisest decision, and Sean doesn't think that either. He's going to tuck behind the rear wing for now of Ryan, but he's got a little bit more battery than he normally has. The only issue is Ryan is very good saving that ERS and has saved it all for the key point when Sean will get DRS. But the DRS, very powerful around here. A little bit of understeer in the dirty air of Sean, and does pick up another time penalty as he runs wide. Ryan with a great exit out of the final corner should be able to stay in the lead of this one on lap 9. But an incredible battle between the leaders. And all while that's going on, Michaela is glued to the back of them.
And DJ Sully here down in P8 gaining on RJ Batten. He's got DRS. He now uses his overtake. And a little four-way battle for P7. He moves himself up into 7th. And Gavboy and Jimstrav are now all over the back of this. RJ Batten doesn't look like he's going to be able to get that position back. Slowly gaining, but not enough. And now Jimstrav, could he potentially be having a look here? Absolutely not too far back. Gav largely in the same bracket there. And Sab 11th now. He's 18 seconds off this, but he'll be looking to pull back some of that time.
RJ
And there's
Batten
Canadian
round.
actually.
RJ Batten
RJ Batten
round. We've
round.
seen a couple of cars go into the gravel there, and that did not look like a spin to me. That looked like contact, the way that car went round. He manages to keep it in a straight line. There's no damage done, but he has lost a heap of time in that battle. What I was going to say is very interesting is DJ Sully on the hard tyres overtaking RJ Batten on the mediums. Is this the crossover? As we see McKellar in the Sauber get past Sean. Again, the hard tyres winning out over the mediums. Is this now the crossover where the hards are better? As now, McKellar fighting his teammate.
And we talk about lots of drivers going off on the gravel. This is one of those very old classical racing circuits where there isn't a lot of runoff area. One of the old ways you go about it, you make a mistake, you get punished. Something I do love about this circuit, and drivers have to be very, very wary of that because you don't have that leeway to make a mistake. You lock up and you can just go onto the runoff area. If you make a mistake here, you have to fix it quickly or you will be in the dirt.
Making mistakes was Sean, and he's now slipped down into 4th position. Quincy got past him. I didn't see exactly what Sean did, but it was enough of a mistake to allow the Aston past.
Also
now here
hard.
is the battle for the lead. The two teammates in Sauber fighting away hard. McKellar on the hard tyres, Ryan Brooks on the mediums. And it doesn't look like Ryan is going to fight this one. McKellar goes through on his teammate, and after dominating last night in F2, McKellar leads once again. It is the first time that he has led tonight, and I'm sure that it will not be the last. McKellar on lap 11 takes the lead.
And I think Quincy's kind of gathered the fight he has on his hands now, as he is desperate to get up to the back of these. I was going to say that did look like somewhat of a planned move, or not a let you through, but wouldn't fight you. Obviously, Ryan, as we say, is filling in, reserving. He will not be scoring points. So it is probably in Sauber's best interest that McKellar wins the race. But now this could be very difficult for Quincy if they decide that McKellar just gives Ryan the DRS and Ryan sticks behind him, as there's a slight mistake.
Sean round.
Quincy.
Sean is round. They were all sort of piling up towards that little chicane. It goes downhill and uphill. It's very difficult to get right. But Sean, very close to the back of the rear wing of Quincy. A big moment for the V-Carb. And he is now down to 5th. A long way behind Josh, who takes the position. But I do want to mention a lot of the NRRL drivers do all join a VC collectively together. Ryan Brooks and McKellar are in that VC together. So I do wonder if there was a little bit of team tactics going on, as we now see Quincy on the hard tyres beginning to attack the medium runner of Ryan Brooks. And Ryan is round! Onto the curb he went. And we knew the medium tyres were starting to give way. He touched the curb right behind the rear wing of his teammate. He was under pressure from Quincy. And again, he is still having moments as he comes through the second chicane. So the mediums evidently losing life. Ryan Brooks, the long-time race leader, round at turn 2 and down to 4th.
And that insurance policy I suggested, totally gone. And what does that do to the mind of McKellar, knowing you have the security of an incredibly quick and smart driver to help back you up? Now that is gone. You are going to have to do it the old-fashioned way and do it yourself. Although he seems to be out of DRS for now, but Quincy now in that, as I say, the old commentator's curse there. However, he's got no charge to fight this with, but largely the same as McKellar. So now the attention turns to, can Quincy put himself into the lead of the race? He's a little bit too far back, I imagine. Turn 1, a very, very difficult place to get a move when you're not closer than he is. However, I don't think he's going to be close enough.
Unfortunately not for the Aston Martin driver, but he is gaining. The top 4 covered by 2 teams, Sauber and Aston. Aston currently taking the lion's share of the points, but it is Sauber that leads. And obviously now, I think it's been proven, the hard tyres working much, much better. As we see DJ Sully just going off the track there, but he is attacking with Jokies as we've got a yellow flag. I believe that was for Altheniel, who has been picking up his fair share of penalties. But here goes Sully into Tozer much, much later on the brakes. Incredible move there from the Williams driver, and he gets himself up into 6th.
Some fantastic displays he has had. Been somewhat unlucky in this early stage of the season, but he is always a favourite to watch, knows how to overtake a car, knows how to race, and a very quiet but strong display from him so far.
Very, very strong display, but Quincy is that little bit closer now and does have the DRS on the Sauber. Both with about the same battery. Quincy is deploying. Lap 14 of 63. We have another new race leader. This time, it is Quincy. Incredible move from the Aston. Using the DRS and the ERS well. The Aston Martin driver now leads.
Fantastic stuff from Quincy. But McKellar is going to look towards the inside. Backs out there. Thinks better of it. And now you start to wonder, when will these drivers consider a stop? I have to say, I was very surprised Ryan Brooks didn't on those mediums after his spin. But he seems to be getting into a fairly decent groove now as we have a yellow.
That was again Altheniel. I just caught the end of that gravel on the tyres for the Mercedes driver. If we take a look at the penalties, he's already got 12 seconds in penalties. He is really struggling, is Altheniel. Currently 10 seconds off of 15th place.
Here comes McKellar. Sorry to interrupt you there. Quincy had a slight snap at the chicane. And McKellar all over the back of him, and you would expect with full charge that he is going to get the move done here. DRS wide open, pulls to the inside, and you're not going to get an easier move like that round Imola. And the Mercedes now in the middle, but he gets out of the way nice and well. And Quincy nearly runs into the back of McKellar there. We have another yellow down at the final corner, and that was DJ Sully. So a very strong race from him so far. A spin, not ideal for him. He gets it pointing in the right direction though. And Quincy's still having issues. Although he's got a much better exit than McKellar here. A very, very difficult corner to overtake. Thinks better of it. And this is getting very intriguing between the two of them now. Quincy needs to just try and focus up as he nearly spins there. Now, if you're in his position, Jack, you're making mistakes. You've just lost the lead. How do you get out of that funk?
Well, I must say really quickly, Josh was the first man to blink and move off of the mediums onto the hards, looking for the undercut. Josh was running a bit of a lonely race, a little bit behind these guys. The first man to blink to go into the pits, but does pick up a penalty.
And neither of the top two pit. Still within DRS range is Quincy, a little bit further back than he would like. And as you say, not the easiest place to get an overtake done. But I will ask you the question again before Josh made his choice. If you're Quincy here, you are still within DRS range to him, but you have made mistakes that have cost yourself the lead. How do you get out of that mistake-making mode and get back into taking the lead?
I think as much as it's quite the millennial saying, I think it is just all about locking in. You know, you've got to stay focused. You've got to stay with your mind in the right place. And some of these corners are incredibly difficult to get through. As we now go through Acqua Minerale, one of the most difficult corners on the calendar. Variante Alta up next, an incredibly difficult chicane. Very easy to get penalties through here, but they both negotiate it well. And then here we go now, down the hill. Always a decent overtaking opportunity is this, but no moves being made down there. But it is all just about focusing up, getting back into the swing of things, because you know you are going to have a run at the Sauber into Tamburello.
And here we go then, DRS, ERS towards turn 1. And he's going to get the move done before turn 1. A very, very strong showing of pace from Quincy, but Michela just eager to get on with this. And towards the second chicane, I don't think he's going to be in position for a move. It's not a smart idea. Very, very risky. If he could have gotten a better exit out of that corner there, he could have gone for a move into the hairpin. Athenio is out, so we have our first retirement. He is retired in the pit, so isn't going to be a safety car, which was actually a thing I was going to bring up. 17 laps in here, and we have yet to see a safety car. Is this the longest we've gone without seeing a safety car? I feel like it must be.
It wouldn't surprise me, to be completely honest. But the interesting thing here is Quincy now leading, obviously on the hard tyres. Who will blink first to make a pit stop? It seems like the hards are still working well as we now head down the hill towards Ravazza 1. The braking seems completely fine. The turning seems completely fine. A little few mistakes and a little snaps, but that shouldn't harm the drivers too much. I wouldn't imagine we'll see anyone in relatively soon. But here we go with Michela again then. Is there going to be enough straight line speed on that Sauber to try and make the move into Tamburello? He's definitely looking for it, and down the inside he goes. He just doesn't have enough grip, and will now have to try and shape the car up as we go towards Villeneuve. Just not enough straight line speed, just not enough traction, and through Villeneuve we go. Quincy manages to stay ahead, but if you can get a good exit out of here, out of Tosa, towards Piratella, you can have a good chance. But unfortunately for the Sauber, he will have to stick behind for a little bit longer.
And Quincy didn't have the best exit up the hill, but now Michela could pounce on. And this, as we've said quite a few times, just must be so frustrating when you see the car in front of you making mistakes and you know that you can get through. But as typically with turn 1 in Hungary, when you get down a straight, you get close enough and then suddenly you have a corner. So it becomes so much more difficult to make the move. And as I said a few laps ago, I wonder when these drivers are going to consider pitting, because surely that now on the hard tyres will start to play a role. Who will be the first out of the top 2 to bite?
Michela picks up a 3-second penalty, and that is huge for the course of this race. While I was reading that, I've been looking at Josh, who was the first man to blink to go onto the hards. He is very close to the back of the Scarlet Ferrari of Jim Strav, who has been on those hards for nearly every single lap of this Grand Prix. And Josh, evidently with much better grip, probably wouldn't even need the DRS, but he is going to get it. That's an easy move for the Aston. Moves himself up to 5th. His next target, 13 seconds ahead, is Sean. But this is incredible stuff. I must say, this must be the most race leaders we've had in one race. And we're only 19 laps in. We've had Quincy, Michela, Ryan Brooks, Sean. The entire top 4 has led this Grand Prix. Incredible stuff.
Absolutely fantastic scenes here. Josh, a lovely move there down the main straight. I managed to catch the end of that. However, these top 2, we've spent a lot of time focusing on them. And here they are again then, preparing for another battle down that main straight. Michela picking up a penalty. I was shocked to see that, given how yesterday we were praising the consistency of not picking up a single one. And that is going to be a different side we're going to have to see of him now to negate the penalty. He's going to have some charge to fight him here with, and turns the charge off. I think he knows that move is done. And back into the lead he goes.
Well into the lead before the Tamburello chicane. Quincy going a little bit wide as well, just to give Michela that bit of a gap. Wow. And Quincy has a massive snap going through Tamburello. I was just about to say he needs to shape up Villeneuve to try and stay within the gap, but still Quincy is struggling. We saw him have a few snaps. He's now back on the jaws of Ryan Brooks, who is still on those mediums, but lap 20 of 63, that really, really helps Michela. But Quincy, through Tamburello, losing the car, that is not what the Aston Martin driver would have wanted. And you would have to assume that not only the medium runners, but the hard runner of Quincy will be into the pits soon, because those tyres are not working well for him.
I think he absolutely has to consider a pit stop now. Murray Elliott, a 10-second speeding penalty. That is not ideal in his position. But I must say, a huge mistake from Quincy, but done very well to keep that out of the barriers. The fact he's come out of that with no damage, very, very good for him. Although he stays out.
Interesting choice there from the Aston. Ryan is going to have a great run at him towards the Tamburello chicane. He just isn't close enough. But, like I keep saying, shape up Villeneuve and you will have a good chance. Sean is into the pits. If Ryan doesn't pit this lap, there might be a chance of the undercut. Will we see the Sauber react to the V-carb? The long-time race leader was Sean, but Ryan is really struggling, having a snap there on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. These drivers are really struggling here in the Italian heat. We know that V-carb, this is their home race. They are based in Faenza, just a mere few kilometers away from this track. It is used as their testing track, so V-carb know this well. Do they know the strategy well enough to try and get Sean back into the fight for the win?
You would absolutely expect so. He has some very quick drivers in front of him. However, luckily, they are quite a few seconds clear, so there shouldn't be too much of a bother for him. But if he gets up to the back of them, that could cost him some serious time. Sab and Gav managed to get past him. Sab up to 6th, so it's been a quiet race since his incident earlier on. On the mediums up to P6, so it's a fairly decent run so far, as we are now over a third of the way through. As none of the top 3 pit again, Brooks up to 2nd, and it really a question, Ryan mediums, hards, who is going to get to stop first? Because typically the lead driver would get preference, but with Ryan Brooks on different spec of tyres, that will play an extra role.
That will be very interesting as Ryan goes round again. It is the second time, and this time he does pick up damage. The front left end plate off of that Sauber. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I would have never expected him to stay out this long. It didn't seem like the right call to me, and the right call it wasn't, as Ryan had just got the move done into second place. We were just talking about the strategy, but round again goes the Sauber. And surely, for all that it's worth, that car will be in this lap, because there is no way those tyres are working, and maybe even a front wing change coming for the Sauber. Incredible stuff on lap 22. Ryan Brooks fighting for the lead into the barrier for the second time.
He's got to pit, surely. If that doesn't give you a... And he doesn't, Ryan. I'm stunned by this. Surely it's the easier move right now. It's going to cost him more time, you'd expect. But I don't understand the call whatsoever.
It is very, very interesting to see what Sauber are doing. He's got damage, which is only going to harm the tyres more. The tyres are already absolutely shot. I can't believe what I'm seeing from Ryan right now. We know that his pace, his raw pace, his ability is absolutely incredible, but maybe that's where he lacks, is the call of strategy. 22 laps now on those mediums. He's been in the barrier twice. You've got to get those tyres off. He might be looking for a one-stop, but with mistakes like that, you might as well throw that in the bin. There's no chance you are going to be able to make that work. But lower down the field, we see Dan Lovett get past his teammate as he comes into the pits. He got past Gavboy a few laps ago as well. Dan Lovett, obviously, one of the cars to pit on the first lap due to that contact. We've got with Jokies currently in 8th. The grid is very spread out. DJ Sully has come out right behind Anarchy, but goes incredibly wide onto the grass and through the gravel, and that is going to harm DJ Sully's race, who has just come out. RJ Batten, who is on new hard tyres, just coming out of the pits as well. But the lap, I must say, what's quite interesting is McKellar is losing a hell of a lot of time to Quincy. The gap was about 3.5 seconds when Ryan had his spin. It is now only 2.
Fantastic to see. You want to see it be as close as possible. And these two have been going hell for leather in the opening 24 laps. And I would expect that unless there is a pit stop, they'll be at each other's throats again in a few of them.
Exactly that. Quincy is really gaining on McKellar, and surely if you're Ryan Brooks, you have to think about pitting, because Josh, who made that early decision to come in for the undercut, is only 4 seconds behind him. And that is quite interesting, because that surely means we will have a new race leader. When everyone comes into pit, Josh will inevitably take the lead of this race, which means we will have a 5th race leader in this Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, and we're not even halfway through it.
I wouldn't be shocked if Josh tries to go to the end. Is Sean hugely gaining on Sab here, and I don't think he's going to need the DRS. He won't. Makes the move into the final couple of corners, and the hard tyres definitely seem to be the ones to be on. Sab struggling. We have a yellow flag. Believe that was for Williams, but nothing too much there as Sean gets through on... Sorry, Sab gets through on Jim Strav, who pits. Now within a second as well, Quincy. So now things will get interesting.
The battle will resume again between these two drivers who have been at each other's throats the entire evening thus far, and that is not going to change at all. Quincy still going at McKellar. Maybe these drivers looking for a one-stop strategy, but Quincy with a little mistake through there, and that is going to cost him time. He's burning the battery to get back in the DRS duct, and he has done exactly that. And now the battle will continue again, but Quincy is evidently struggling on those tyres a lot more than McKellar, who comes into the pits. So McKellar, the first man to blink out of the top 3. Interestingly enough, that means Ryan will stay out again, who is surely going to lose heaps of time. Josh does take the net race lead as McKellar comes into the pits for a set of hard compound tyres. So that is a guaranteed 2-stop for McKellar, who you would assume is going to hard, medium this race. We see DJ Sully just coming out of the pits ahead of him. Josh is now up into third with Ryan in second. With that damage, obviously, Quincy now takes the lead on track. 6.5 seconds is his gap to Ryan. But surely, Ryan, you are coming in soon, because there is no way you can make that car work properly and quickly on those old tyres with that damage.
You would expect so, and things will get very difficult for McKellar now. 2.8 seconds behind Sean, who was up there, had a few little mistakes on his end, and he has potentially brought himself back into play here. McKellar versus Sean, this is something I'm interested to see. However, Sean's still somewhat pulling away.
Josh is very, very close to the back of Ryan as Quincy comes into the pits and gets a 10-second time penalty. Ryan also comes into the pits, manages to avoid that. But huge for the story of this race. Josh with 12 seconds of penalties. Quincy with 10 seconds. McKellar with 3 seconds. Sean with 9 seconds. Ryan is the only man without a penalty and is not changing that front wing.
So he clearly thinks that he can go with the damage. A very, very interesting call. We'll have to see how that pays off for him. Hard tyres for everyone in the top 7, apart from Sab, who has been on those mediums for 22 laps. So surely he must be thinking about pitting soon. But it begs the question, is he trying to go longer so that he can go on to the hards at the end and make this a 2-stop as opposed to what would be in his end a 3-stop? A very, very interesting few laps ahead for Sab, as you would expect if he was to pit, it would be in the next few laps. But it'll be interesting to see how quickly can Ryan Brooks get onto the back of him. A 22 lap difference in rubber. How long will it take for Ryan to be on the back of what is now the man who should really be trying to fight for the title here?
Josh is absolutely miles in the lead and isn't losing that much time to Sean. McKellar is gaining on the V-Carb, but Sean is not really gaining on the Aston Martin. Incredibly interesting stuff here as Josh becomes the race leader. He's about 14 seconds in the lead and isn't losing that much time. Has Josh played the strategy absolutely perfect here?
I believe he could have done 6 lap younger tyres. There isn't going to be that much of a difference really until the later stages. You would expect both men to pit again. However, I think Josh is in very strong stead here to at least be on the podium with the way he is going. Not losing, as you say, too much time to be concerned yet. But Sean just ever so slightly gaining some time. That is something for him to work for. Not even halfway through the race yet. There is still plenty more to go in this race. No safety cars yet, so drivers still must be thinking that one could be coming soon. But very odd to get to nearly 30 laps, nearly half race distance, and no safety car called yet.
It is very interesting, I must say. I'm just going to quickly Google this, but I'm relatively sure that every race at Imola since it came back to the F1 calendar in real F1 has had a safety car.
I do believe so.
Let's have a look at this. So in 1994 there was a safety car.
Yellows.
What have you seen, Lewis?
I thought at first that could be Sean. There was a yellow flag at turn 1 and 2, but nothing happening there. McKellar somewhat closer to Sean, but not too much. I believe it was a lapped car in between the two of them, a Williams. Not sure if it was Dan Lovett or DJ. I believe it was DJ Sully, but nothing to really have too much of an impact.
Now I have got the stats up. There were 2 safety cars in 2020 when it returned to the calendar. There were 3 in 2021 as well as a red flag. There were 2 in 2022. There weren't any in 23 or 24. So there's about a 50% probability of there being a safety car in these modern Formula 1 cars, which is quite interesting because I would have thought that there were a relatively large chance of there being a safety car because the walls sometimes are quite close. Obviously, there is a lot of runoff though, so that will probably be saving a lot of the drivers as we have seen spins, we've seen contact, we've seen people with damage like Ryan Brooks, but the walls just aren't close enough to punish that hard and everyone seems to be getting through perfectly fine so far. Now, the interesting thing is, I do believe Sean made a mistake because he was gaining a lot on Josh, but that gain has suddenly slowed down a bit. Obviously, they're not on 2 different lap age tyres, but there isn't really anyone massively gaining within the top 5. All the gaps are somewhat staying around the same. Ryan is about 11 seconds off of Quincy, who is then 4 seconds off of McKellar, who's 3 seconds off of Sean, who's 12 seconds off of Josh. All the top 4 with penalties. I do believe if the race were to end now, Josh would win it.
I believe he would. I very much think, like I say, he's in very good stead for a very strong result. McKellar not gaining on Sean, 5 lap younger tyres. Quincy, I don't think is really pulling up to McKellar either. So I think we're starting to reach that point in the race where not much happening. We have a yellow flag.
Believe that's a McLaren, isn't it? Yes, that is Bruiser, who was going slowly in the McLaren, or was it? Was it Meldrum? I'm not 100% sure. But I must say, what a torrid race for Meldrum. Took back-to-back pole positions in Australia and Hungary. The McLaren driver, he has struggled over the course of the season with getting penalties, but overall pace-wise, he has been incredibly good. But unfortunately, Imola just doesn't look like it's suiting his driving style. He is having a torrid day here as we see RJ Batten get past Dan Lovett, who comes into the box once again. 29 laps on those hard tyres for Dan. Definitely time to get rid of them. A great stint from him. He goes back onto the hards, presumably to the end of the race.
You would expect so. 28 laps on the hards. He can certainly do another 32, especially if there is a safety car called. I would expect there would be at least one. You reeled off the stats there, 3 in 2021. Normally, by this point in the race, we've had 3 already. None whatsoever here. So a very, very interesting point for the drivers to consider. Almost at the stage of where you're just kind of waiting for one at this point, as opposed to where you're normally not expecting them until the earlier stages. But it does throw up a bit of a more difficult atmosphere for the race, knowing that typically you get one very early on, and there hasn't even been one, and we are now past half race distance.
Exactly that. Now, I will remind you of the penalties once again. We've currently got Josh, who is on 12 seconds, as we see Jim Strav getting past Jokies at turn 1. Lovely little move round the outside from the Ferrari, moves himself up into 6th place. But we've got Josh on 12 seconds of penalties. Sean is on 9. McKellar is on 6. Quincy on 10 after speeding in the pit lane. We've got Wiz Jokies, who is on 6. Sab Gaming, Batten, and Gavboy all on 3. We've then got Dan Lovett, who's on 6 seconds. Murray Elliott on 16 seconds. DJ Sully with 6 seconds. And Meldrum, big props to Meldrum, I must say. I know I do take the mick a bit out of Meldrum getting a lot of penalties, but in recent races, he has really worked on that. And I mean, it shows. Imola is an incredibly easy track to get track limit warnings around. Only 3 seconds for Meldrum halfway into the race. Very well done, sir.
I don't think it is really a discredit if you only pick up 1 or 2, as most drivers do. As you see, over half the field here, only 4 drivers still yet to pick one up. But once you get into those 9, 12, 15, then it really starts to cost you time. 3 seconds. It's frustrating when you pick one up, but if you pick one up towards the later stages, you've done fairly well. Everyone here is seemingly getting them somewhat early on, but they're all sort of cancelling each other out. So I wouldn't be too distressed if I had a penalty right now. However, none of these penalties right now are really impacting anyone's position.
Exactly that, and nobody is really gaining any time. The gap between McKellar and Sean has practically been the same. It's been the same with Quincy and McKellar as Dan Lovett sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on those new hard tyres. He is obviously pushing in that Williams. We've got Josh and Sean. The gap is coming down, but very, very steadily, so I'm sure Josh won't be too worried. Obviously, on the older tyres, you would imagine that that would be the case, that he would be gaining. But for the difference in tyres, I think Josh is doing a very good job out in the lead. Obviously, we'll have to pit again, you would assume, but so far, in this second stint, incredible stuff from the Aston Martin driver, driving an incredibly calm race, doing very, very well. Now, I must say, what I do find interesting is we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. I'm not sure who that is for. That is for DJ Sully, who is off at the Villeneuve chicane. He's still on the grass as he lets the cars pass, but down to 14th is DJ Sully. Villeneuve, a very hard chicane to navigate through. He's not been on those tyres for too long, so maybe just a lapse in focus, but he is down to 14th and now has the Sauber of Michela, or not Michela, sorry, Ryan Brooks right behind him as Sean picks up another time penalty. I now can't remember what I was saying, so Lewis, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, Sean slightly now starting to put the pressure on. At this current stage, it would be for track position as both have 12 seconds in penalties. However, that gap is coming down, but still quite a large gap. 28 laps to go, so not in the bag yet for Josh, but a professional drive so far. However, without a safety car, I think we could be looking towards a somewhat dull finish. No one really close to each other on the circuit. That can be what this circuit provides at times. The closest battle, really, Sab and Wiz jockeys down the main straight here. Sab will have DRS, and he might even get through before the DRS. DRS wide open, gets the move done. So Sab up into P7.
We obviously saw Sab with that spin very early on. He was in the lead fight. A great qualifying lap from him, but it has been a race of damage control. And unfortunately for the Alpine, it's not the day he would have wanted, but he is driving well, currently up in 7th. And I do believe, even with this result, it would see him retake the lead of the championship. So interesting stuff. We obviously know that BT isn't racing today, so people like Saban Dan really will want to capitalise. Dan currently sat in 10th and 16 seconds off of RJ Batten in 9th, so he is obviously having a big struggle down there in the last points paying position as Quincy in 4th sets the fastest lap of the race. So that is very interesting, and McKellar will be looking at that in his mirrors. Not very excited.
Absolutely not. He will be seeing that gap start to come down. Lucky for him, they all have plenty of time left. So will this race throw up some more excitement? I'm sure it will. This tends to happen as Sab gets through on Jimstrav. This tends to happen in most races where you have that kind of lull period midway through. Everyone just kind of focusing on tyre life and extending their stints. But I would expect as that gap comes down from Sean that we are going to be in for a very good finish here. Because in a few laps time at the current rate, Sean will be closing in on Josh.
He is getting much, much closer to the Aston Martin. He is gaining out of almost every corner. And as those tyres age for Josh, he is only going to be going slower. Now, I have just remembered what I was going to say earlier. With the issue of no safety cars, if you take a look at Josh and you turn the telemetry on, Lewis, he's currently down on fuel, as is Sean, as is Quincy. So these drivers obviously taking fuel out of the car, expecting a safety car to then be able to gain that fuel back. But without a safety car, they're going to have to slow down and lift and coast, which is only going to impact their race more. So very interesting. If we don't have a safety car in this race, the top two are going to struggle, as is Quincy.
Absolutely. It's something that is I typically would overfuel anyways, as we have a Haas out.
And that is a safety car, so the commentator's curse.
Safety car.
It comes into play.
I was just going to say, typically in a league race, you never really know how much fuel to put in. I always tend to put enough into where I would make the race, just in case there isn't one.
I'll tell you who this does benefit, Lewis. Sorry to interrupt. The leader, Josh. He is really going to... He's going to be beaming with this safety car. 22 laps on the hard tyres, and he rolls the car into the pit lane, as does Sean. Now, the interesting thing here is if McKellar and Quincy possibly pissing as well, and Ryan Brooks, will everyone get holed up? McKellar comes into the pits. Is Quincy? Yes, he is. Will Ryan now come into the pits? Because drivers could be getting held up here in the pit lane. Ryan does also pit, so the entire top 5 does pit. Now, I say that this benefits Josh because obviously it gets him off those tyres, But it really benefits Ryan Brooks, who is able to come into the pit lane, get a new set of tyres. He still isn't changing the front wing, interestingly enough. I would have done that under the safety car. But with no penalties for Ryan Brooks, he technically becomes the net race leader.
I think it gets very, very interesting here. As you say, this benefits Josh. I think this benefits Sean to a point, as he was gaining, and now right on the back here. So this safety car restart is going to be very, very critical. What will Josh do?
Obviously, we see Josh and Sean on the hard tyres. We've got McKellar, who has gone on to mediums, interestingly enough. Ryan Brooks, also on the hards. Quincy on the mediums. The tyre strategy will pay dividends.
Absolutely, and I think this is going to be a very, very interesting few laps, as this could either hinder Josh's mentality or strongly help it. He saw that gap coming down, and a safety car, it does allow him to pit, but now that gap is non-existent. So what will he be thinking when the safety car peels off into the pits?
That is the question. Josh, we know, has led races before and continues to lead this one. We've got Sean, who is in second, who is right up there, and like you say, was gaining on Josh. McKellar is in third, but there is a lapped car in the way. It is a Williams driver. Let's just check who it is. It's DJ Sully, who is now going to peel into the pit, so that actually won't make a difference. McKellar will be third on track. We've then got a Ferrari who is in the way. That will be Jim Strav, I believe, or is it? No, it's not, sorry. It is Murray Elliott who will be in the way for Sab, and crucially, Ryan Brooks.
So now we just wait for everyone to catch up with the safety car. I'd expect the safety car to be out for another 2 or 3 laps, really. And surely these drivers will be able to go to the end on their current tyre plans. I just want to give a shining light on somebody we haven't spoke about much today, but have throughout the course of the season. Sab Gaming up in P4 after the struggles he had earlier. Hard tyres on the car now, medium still for McKellar. So this could get very, very interesting. Sab needed to take this opportunity and try and pivot into the championship lead, and there could be a second twist in his race here.
I think the really interesting person that we need to keep an eye on is Ryan Brooks. We know he's on the fresher tyres, he doesn't have a penalty, but he has that damage. If Ryan is quick enough to stay with the lead sort of quad, he will win this race due to penalties. Sab with 3 seconds, McKellar with 6 seconds, Josh and Sean both on 12 seconds. But then you have to look to Quincy, who is right behind Ryan on new tyres, new mediums to be exact, and doesn't have damage. So I think the race has really swung in the favour of Ryan and Quincy. Interestingly enough, this does also help out Dan Lovett, who has spent 8 laps on those hard tyres, but is now in 7th and close to everyone in the top 6. It will be interesting to see how he runs his race. We know Sab, he will most certainly be fighting. He's on 2 laps fresher tyres than Sab. The 2 championship protagonists, along with BT, should be fighting in this race. Always incredible to see. But like I say, I think this has really run in the favour now of Ryan Brooks and Quincy.
I think it's an opportunity they can't squander. Having this advantage over those at the top with you is something that now they will be very, very much thinking of every single corner. Don't pick up a penalty. It can be a double-edged sword of a blessing and a curse that you don't have those penalties, but it puts, I'd say, even more pressure to not pick them up to the point where I would expect that they would.
Meldrum gets a 10-second time penalty for crossing the pit lane exit white line. Very interesting. As we see, I believe that's... Who is that in the pits? That is RJ Batten. I would imagine the safety car is in this lap. So for Meldrum and for Batten, they are going to be very, very far behind and have a very tall order in these last 23 laps to try and get back to the rest of the field. But Josh will lead and will conduct the safety car restart. Sean will be trying to gain on him as they are racing for track position, both with 12-second penalties. McKellar will be looking to jump on them with the medium tyres and try and run away with it. But unless this is called very late, it does look like the safety car will be out for another lap.
That's very, very good news for Meldrum and Batten.
Contact.
And probably the right call.
Contact between Josh and Sean. I believe Josh was
Wow.
weaving to warm up the tyres. Sorry to interrupt you, Lewis. I was on board with Josh and I heard the contact. A bit of a snap on Josh's wheel. Luckily for the pair of them, no penalties. But very interesting. Sean trying to pull wheel to wheel with the leader.
Very, very interesting move there. Not too sure what the benefit of that would be as Meldrum comes into the pit. So this could be out again for another lap or so to serve his 10-second penalty. And he probably isn't going to emerge in front of Batten here. And this is very interesting. He doesn't. But will the safety car give another lap so that the lap cars can catch up? Or will it come in this lap?
I think quite interestingly, Meldrum is onto softs. There's no way they'll go to the end, so I don't know what the McLaren driver is thinking. He surely will not catch up to the safety car now. So, a very odd strategy from the McLaren driver. But before the safety car does peel in, I do want to remind the viewers, please drop a follow down below. 6 days of racing action coming to you next week. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. We have tons of racing across the week for you, and you do not want to miss it. If this race has been so good, imagine what the rest of them are like, as we now have the safety car in this lap. Here we go again. Josh takes over as the safety car. Where's that contact, Lewis?
Sean and Josh. Sean into the back of Josh. No penalties. I don't know if this is my game glitching, because Josh just went off the track and came back on there. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I didn't see any damage from my end, but very, very interesting. I do believe McKellar is actually going to get onto the back of everyone here, which is good for him. But it is all about when is Josh going to go. And he has gone, and he has a fairly big gap there. Both burning down the main straight, but Sean
Here comes
has
McKellar.
the main straight. And there are wheels. This is very, very interesting. Is McKellar going to go for it on the Aston? He can't. But up into second, and now is he going to go for it here? He looks to the racing line, backs out of it, the smarter thing to do. And McKellar lighting up the circuit with some fantastic moves.
We know he's on the mediums. He was looking to the outside of Villeneuve. We know that's not an overtaking place. You're never going to get two cars through there. But they all seem to be through fairly well. And McKellar on the mediums looking to challenge for the race lead. The big gap is between Sab and Sean. Ryan is really falling off and Quincy is really being held up by this. So if you're Quincy, you need to get past Ryan. We know he's nursing the car. He's got damage. For Quincy's sake, if he wants to win this race, he needs to get past. Because at the moment, it's actually Sab Gaming who would win the race. We've still got a fair amount of this race left to go. But at the moment, as things stand, it is going the way of Sab, who would have inevitably take the lead. But here does come McKellar, and it's an easy move. To the inside he goes, and McKellar retakes the lead once again. And now here comes Sean on Josh down the inside, and does take the lead through Tamburello. Not take the lead, sorry, take second place through Tamburello to Villeneuve. Josh cannot gain, and Sean up into second. Josh is slipping.
And Ryan picks up a penalty as well. You know, we were talking under the safety car. You believe Ryan Brooks was the man to keep an eye on. And I have to say, in the back of my mind, I couldn't agree with you. I thought McKellar was certainly someone to look at on the mediums that can go to the end. We've seen drivers do 25, 26 laps on those. He has done 5, but only one of them has been in full racing condition. Although he has made a slight mistake there, and Sean right on the back of him. McKellar, we have seen, knows how to overtake, and crucially around this circuit, knows how to defend. And how will he defend the oncoming onslaught of Sean? As Sean, are they going to try and DRS train each other here? No, they are not. And Sean gets through into the lead.
But that was smart from McKellar. He knows he's going to get the DRS down this straight, but he isn't. He isn't going to get the DRS. Who did get it? It was Sean. But McKellar, with more battery, is going to drain it all and retake the lead before Tamburello. Josh is on the back of this, licking his lips as he awaits any contact and any opening for him. Sab is still falling off the back of this train. Quincy still behind Ryan as he is in the DRS of Sab. But an incredible battle of the leaders now into Toza. There is contact between Sean and McKellar. Sean comes off worse, but he is going for it for the lead. And now forcing McKellar to defend. Incredible stuff between the top two and Josh waiting in the wings.
This is getting very feisty. We understand the desperation of the race win, but this is getting on the limit. It will be interesting to see over the next 19. Do they cross it? They are coming very, very close, but it is what you want to see. Two drivers desperate to win. McKellar looking to complete almost, well, what basically would be a perfect weekend, and Sean wants to have a huge say in that, but Josh looking to see if he can disrupt that.
Exactly that, but Sean does not have the battery. Here comes Josh, though, on Sean. Also not with much battery. I don't think Sean's going to have enough speed to look into Tamburello, and he doesn't. But Quincy has made a double overtake, but gone deep. And that allows Sab through, and now he's wheel to wheel with Ryan, who takes the position back. It was a lovely move from Quincy, just a little too late on the brakes into Tamburello. And as we go through Villeneuve and towards Toza, Quincy is going to look for a gap on the inside, but desperation creeping in as Ryan has actually picked up a 3-second penalty. So Quincy, the only man without one, he needs to try and get past Ryan and Sab and get on this leading fight. Otherwise, his chances of an Emilia Romagna Grand Prix win are starting to slide away.
Fantastic stuff. Absolutely incredible scenes. You just simply cannot call who's going to win here. McKellar, a slight mistake. Sean on the back. I think he's learned from a couple laps previously. They do make contact. No damage for either driver. Ryan through on Sab. Very crafty move there. And here they go then. The top three all fighting down the main straight.
They are so close, and here comes Sean, and before Tamburello even comes up, he is back up into the lead. Ryan is falling off of this train, and Quincy is very close as he manages to get past Sab. Incredible stuff between the top 6 here, but Sean retakes the lead once again. We know he is really going for it. He is being feisty, and that has got him back into the lead.
Absolutely incredible stuff. DRS still for all of these drivers. We do have a lapped car in between them, but that shouldn't play too much of an effect. However, it is something to just consider. Ryan's not close to be in DRS range with these three. McKellar, another penalty for him. Now 3 seconds behind Sean. 6 seconds clear still of Josh. But Quincy's still looking in a decent way here. He is just about 3 seconds off them. Now down the main straight, there is a little bit more distance between the top three. Sean sets the fastest lap of the race. And I don't think anyone is going to be able to get through each other here.
Quincy went very wide in his pursuit of Ryan Brooks, but he has got the move done, and that is crucial for the Aston Martin driver. You can see the penalties on your screen, and now the pendulum swings to Quincy as he takes the net lead. The only man in the top 7 without a penalty, and one of 2 drivers in the entire Grand Prix without a penalty. Incredible stuff, as now the pendulum swings back to Quincy. We knew that getting past Sab and Ryan would be absolutely crucial for his race, but we know these guys are racers. They want to win it on track. They don't want to win it through penalties. Does he have enough pace to gain on his teammate Michela and Sean and try and put a real fight into this Emilia Romagna Grand Prix?
We have a yellow flag in Sector 3. That's a Ferrari of who has come to a stop. Meldrum also off as well. And a V-Carb, I believe, got caught up in that as well. So here we go then. They all have DRS.
Ryan is close to the back of Quincy, and he is going to retake the position. So Quincy wasn't actually gaining at all on the leaders as Sean picks up another penalty. Ryan now takes the pendulum back, but with that 3-second penalty, I do believe that Quincy would still take it, but he needs to try and at least stick with Ryan to the end of this one, because he was not gaining on the leaders. No change between the front 3. Incredible stuff as the mediums of Michela now maybe start to lose their life a little and the hards get a bit better. Sean is starting to pull a little bit of a gap now and eke out towards the end of the DRS section, as we've got a car round in the first sector. I believe that was for Gavboy, who has managed to get going again. But between the top 3, this is really firing up now.
And these 3 still going for it. Sean nearly out of DRS range of Michela, but not enough to get himself fully out. So now it begins again. What will happen down the main straight? None of them really challenging with their charge. Sean has the most. Quincy back through on Ryan Brooks. So these two seemingly slowing each other down. Very much seems like 1 through on each lap. And this must be incredibly frustrating for them, knowing they have the pace to challenge those at the front, but they're too busy holding each other up.
Exactly that. They are not gaining at all. Josh, in the midst of all that, picked up another penalty, now on 18 seconds of penalties. Gavboy has just got past RJ Batten and up into 10th place. But between the top 3, Sean is really starting to gain away, and Josh might have a window opening on Michela if he does fall out of that DRS. And at the moment, that is exactly what is happening. Yellow flag in Sector 1. That's for a Ferrari, I would imagine, of Murray Elliott it is, as he is round towards Tozer. But Michela is out of DRS. Could this be Josh's time to strike?
And here he goes then, closer to Michela than Michela is to Josh, but nothing in the way of charge. And this allows Sean to just kind of eke out that lead a little bit. Josh, I think, will close up to him by the end of the straight, but not close enough for a move, which is always a bit of a heart killer. But he will still be following him through the dirty air, through the chicane. Could he be looking for a move here? He's a little bit too far back. And he can't get anything done. Only 2/10 in it. He really needs to start. This is where you'll start, as he does get the move done here.
Ryan gets back past on Quincy as well. Very, very interesting stuff as the one Sauber loses position. Another Sauber gains. But in terms of Aston Martin, one gains position, one is on course to win. Quincy, who is currently sat in 5th position, just on penalties, is in the driver's seat.
This is where I was about to say all the drivers with those penalties will be starting to think about the effects they will have. We have another yellow. Murray round, although he looks like he's getting that back in the right way. He does. That's great to see. So that shouldn't be a safety car or anything. But as I was saying, these drivers with their penalties will be starting to think about the effects of them now. Here comes McKellar back through on Josh, although goes wide. And he is going to lose out here. I believe he does. And could lose out to Ryan Brooks. Ryan
Oh!
looks for it on the outside. Never going to work there.
They made contact there, did the two Kick Sauber teammates. And incredibly enough, that has given Sean a massive gap. 3.4 seconds at the front. And that is absolutely huge for the course of this race. Ryan now does go through on his teammate. And maybe McKellar can play the team game and try and hold up Quincy. Because with Ryan only having 3 seconds in penalties, if Quincy is to drop off 3 seconds, that would then hand the race win to Ryan, who has been nursing damage on that Kick Sauber since the first stint. Incredible stuff on lap 51.
I think if you're Quincy in this position, you just have to keep on going the way you are. You can't stutter on even a single penalty, because if you do, all that hard work is gone. He does have DRS, a respectable amount of charge here to try and make a move on McKellar. But McKellar closing up on Ryan. And I think this is in... Oh, he goes for
Big crash! Big crash there, and Ryan Brooks, crucially, is round. And that is massive for the course of this race, as Ryan somehow doesn't pick up any more damage. I didn't see who the contact was with. Quincy up into second. Massive, massive implications on this race on lap 52. And Quincy really now takes the driver's seat, as Ryan is miles behind, 2.8 seconds off of his teammate. Quincy now needs Josh to try and hold up McKellar to stop those team games and just stay within 15 seconds. He doesn't even need to gain on Sean, who's in the lead. He just needs to be consistent. The only issue with that is if we take a look at the tyres, Quincy is on mediums, Sean is on hards. Will those mediums last for the Aston Martin? As Murray Elliott is now out, and we have a safety car. Sean immediately dives into the pits. You would have to imagine Quincy will come into the pits as well, and he doesn't. Quincy stays out.
He baited his teammate in, I think.
Josh with a penalty.
That is works. That's a genius move from Quincy. It isn't maybe morally the thing to do, but he has absolutely played Josh like a chump there. Josh, I think, fell for the bait, and once he realised he wasn't in, got a little bit distracted and has basically wiped out one of his rivals from race victory position. And if in this position, I think it's the right idea to not pit, because what difference does it make? You're in the lead.
I do not know if I would have done that. 15 laps those mediums have gone, and we thought that they were going to die out towards the end of the race. Now was the opportune time to box. Get on the softs. You don't have a penalty. You're in second. Everyone behind has pitted. And now you've got Josh, who stayed out on 14-lap mediums. You've got Sean, who is going to be right behind you on softs. McKellar on softs. Sab Gaming on softs. Ryan Brooks. This is going to be... He's just put so much pressure on himself, Quincy, when all he needed to do was come in the pits and he would almost be guaranteed the win. He has made this difficult for himself, surely.
I think I have to disagree there, because the work that Sab and Ryan have to do is astounding to get through, when those drivers will be fighting even harder, knowing that those penalties really are going to screw them up. I think this has put Quincy in a very strong position, because those with 3-second penalties, Sab has had a consistent race, but is prone to an incident today. Ryan, with his overtakes, has been trying, but it hasn't really worked out for him. I think it is a smart call to stay in front, because those like Sean, Josh, McKellar, they don't really have the time to make up those seconds to lose. Dan, 10-second penalty in the pit lane. This will be out, I'd expect, for another lap or two. So they would have 7 racing laps to make up that time. I think this is a very, very smart move from Quincy. I do see your point, absolutely. But I think Quincy might have made the right decision here.
Only time will tell, but for the sake of the Aston Martin driver chasing his first Grand Prix victory, we said at the start he will not be getting any championship points because he is reserving for this season, but he will want that winning feeling. I know what it's like, Lewis. You know what it's like. That feeling of winning a Grand Prix cannot be matched. He was out in round 1. He didn't race in round 2. He was out in round 3. He finished on the second step of the podium in Hungary. We knew he was battling Beatty, both of them trying to get their maiden victory in this league. Beatty won that last week. He's not here today, and Quincy is fighting for a maiden Grand Prix win. The interesting thing is that I believe everyone in the top 6 is fighting for a maiden Grand Prix win. I will quickly check as we go to the stats now. Sean has only finished 1 Grand Prix. That was in 7th place. He has not won a race yet. We now look to find Josh in the standings, who has also not won a Grand Prix. Michela has won on different days, hasn't won in this series. The safety car has been called very late. And that is going to be very interesting. Safety car only just going in the pit lane. They're going to be throttle limited, but now Quincy does go, and he has got the gap. But Michela very close to the back of Josh here. We know that Josh stayed out. Michela very close now to Sean and is going to make the double overtake. There is contact through Tamburello as we have got cars onto the gravel all over the place, and there's a spinner. And that is Sean, one of the men in contention for the race lead, is round at Tamburello. We've got Michela up into second. Josh goes wide as Ryan Brooks gets into third. It's Sab into fourth. Josh down to 5th. Jim Strav in 6th. Massive implications on this race on the opening lap under the safety car. But Quincy with the dream start. Michela right behind him. Ryan Brooks and Sab Gaming doing battle. Josh into 5th. But heartbreak for Sean, who has been leading for so long. And Quincy has obviously made a mistake somewhere because Michela now takes the lead. Amazing stuff.
And Jim Strav is in a very strong position here. One of only 2 drivers, along with Quincy, well, 3 with Big Bruiser. Quincy and Jim, only ones in the top 6 without a penalty. So if he can just stay on the back of these when DRS comes up, he's on for probably 2nd.
This is absolutely incredible, and this is the racing that you get nowhere else but NRRL. Lap 56 of 63. There has been action all throughout as Jim Strav now looks for a move on Josh. On the fresh, soft tyres, the Ferrari is working well. Towards Villeneuve we go. No move down there, but the Ferrari is doing well up to 6th. And like you mentioned, one of the only drivers without a penalty. It could be Jim's first podium here today in Imola. Incredible action through these 56 laps, and we still have a handful to go. Quincy is currently in the driver's seat, but it is a Sauber 1-3 on track, and Ryan Brooks looking to do battle with Quincy. This is the battle I'm interested in, because only a 3-second penalty for Ryan, only a 3-second penalty for Sab. Quincy on the old medium tyres, falling away from Michela. I think Quincy's strategy was wrong, and this is why.
I think, still, I say I disagree with you. I think he's in a fairly strong position. Ryan, of course, on the better tyres right now, but I'm sure it will be going through his mind. Most of his overtakes for the big spots here have ended relatively badly, as here he goes then. Can he make this one stick? He can, and now it's on to his teammate.
Now, ideally, if there are team games here, sorry to interrupt you, Lewis, Ryan needs to get past Michela, and Michela needs to hold these guys up. for Quincy. He just needs to try and stick with Ryan, stick in the DRS, and you have won this Grand Prix. But he is under pressure from Sab. Jim Strav is still a while away back, but should be in a good position as well. But this is the battle that we need and we want to see. Quincy versus Ryan versus Sab. It is all going to come down to the penalties.
I still think, although heartbreak for Jim Stravis, he's actually now not as Quincy does pick up a penalty. And now I would have to be in agreement with you that Ryan is the favourite here. I thought the strategy call wasn't an awful one to stay out. But now with that penalty, this could get very, very interesting between Quincy and Ryan. Ryan will be overjoyed hearing that. I don't think McKellar will get out of the way because he has his own race to run. I certainly wouldn't if I was in his position. I think Ryan is going to have to do it the old-fashioned way.
He is. He came off the throttle as to not overtake him. I believe the plan might be for McKellar to try and pull Ryan away. And that is exactly what he's doing. Quincy is falling out of DRS and into the jaws of Sab Gaming. This is far from over yet. 5 laps left of this Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, and you just cannot pick a winner out of the top 6, really, as Wiz Jokies is right on the back of Jim Strav, obviously with a 12-second penalty, though. But this is incredible action up and down this field as Ryan Brooks picks up another penalty, but Quincy picks up a 3-second penalty. So as much as I was just about to say that it now falls into the hands of Quincy again, he picks up a penalty, and now they are fighting for position, are Quincy and Sab. And this is what I was talking about. Sab on the better tyres. All he has to do is overtake Quincy, who's on the older tyres. And now he is in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. I think Sab will be looking at this on those soft tyres, just praying on Quincy here, as here he comes.
Here goes Ryan for the lead of the Grand Prix, round the outside of his teammate. He does make the move stick. Sab now looking for the undercut on Quincy, just doesn't have enough grip as we head towards Villeneuve. But a change for the lead on lap 59. Ryan overtakes McKellar. What happens now?
Absolutely unbelievable stuff. Quincy now out of the DRS. As you see him burning there, he knows he needs to get back in it. Jim Strav still on course to at least fall past McKellar as he picks up another penalty. He is also out of DRS, so Ryan in a fairly strong position now. 1 more second gained on Quincy and he has this one.
This is very interesting stuff. And it is all going to come down to the penalties. Quincy is just doing enough to stay in the DRS of McKellar. And I believe he will get it on this lap. We will see, and he will. So that will aid his fight with Sab. But Sab is very, very close to the back of him. Ryan Brooks is starting to pull away. 3 laps left of this Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Ryan only needs a 3-second gap. He currently has a 2-second gap. So this is incredibly interesting. I really thought that was the wrong move from Quincy, and that is paying dividends as Sab now picks up another penalty.
Quincy seemingly the most consistent one when it comes to the penalties. We have a yellow flag. I don't believe that is for anything. Although Quincy got himself back into DRS range of McKellar. It is very touch and go, this gap here. Currently at around about 2.7 seconds between Quincy and Ryan. And I think McKellar at this stage is trying to help his teammate win the race.
I do believe so. He needs to get out of that DRS duct because the gap now is enough for Ryan Brooks to take this win. It is interesting. It has been a fight all throughout, but Ryan, even with the damage on that kick Sauber, is doing enough to try and pull away. Quincy did get into the DRS though of McKellar, and he needs to get past on this lap, and he is going for it. towards Tamburello we go. He pulls to the outside, and before the braking zone even arrives, Quincy is up into second, and now he needs to put his foot down. 3.3 seconds is the gap between himself and the leader, Ryan Brooks, and unless Ryan picks up another penalty, this would be your race result. Ryan is on course to take home the win.
I'm just going to have a look now. Does Ryan have any more penalties? As I have actually disconnected from the session.
Oh, well, I will try and get you back in, Lewis. We will invite you very quickly if I can find you on my friends list, but it doesn't even say you're online for me.
Yeah,
So,
the whole game crashed.
let us know when you're back online and we will try and get you in for the last few laps. 4 seconds now the gap between Ryan and Quincy, and surely this is it. Ryan with the damage but has pulled away. I knew that strategy was wrong from Quincy. I was shouting at him in my head that he had to come into the pits. He obliged not to, and that is really going to cost him his first race win. But here comes Michela down the main straight. Here he goes again to the inside of the Aston, and Michela retakes second place from Quincy. Sab is waiting in the wings to see if there's any incident happening up ahead, but all clean so far. Michela up into second. Obviously won't keep that with the penalties, but on track, a Sauber 1-2 once more. Now we know again, with the situation with Quincy, Ryan will not score any World Championship points. So realistically, the win points share will go to Sab Gaming. However, he won't actually take the 25 points for winning. He will get the points for wherever he finishes, I do believe. But for Ryan, it is Dreamland. Lap 62 of 63, and Ryan is on course to take home a maiden win in NRRL. I've just invited you back to the session, Lewis, so you can try and catch this final lap with us. But as he comes towards the second Ravazza, Ryan is doing enough. We will look to Quincy and Sab, though, as we enter the final lap of this Grand Prix. It has been incredible to watch. I said at the start of qualifying, this is one of my personal favourite tracks on the calendar, and it has produced, I would argue, the best race of the season so far.
Absolutely. I am now back in, hopefully. I was able to catch some of that action. I thought that was a great move from Michela. Very, very tight to get through there. And this race has unravelled for Sab. I think that second penalty totally killed him.
I couldn't agree more. But for Ryan Brooks, he has driven absolutely perfectly. He had a few mistakes here and there. He was in the walls a few times, but he has nursed that damaged Sauber absolutely perfectly. He picked up the penalties, but he pulled the gaps when he needed to. And in his debut on Sundays, as much as he is reserving and won't score points, he will take home that adrenaline rush and will see the checkered flag first. For Ryan Brooks, he won the pre-season test on Friday, and he has dominated here on Sunday. Ryan Brooks in the Sauber, 2 for 2 in the week, wins the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix after an action-packed race. On track, it is a Sauber 1-2, but Quincy will come home to take consecutive second places. Sab Gaming takes third on track, but it is a first podium for Jim Stravin Ferrari. An incredible drive from the Scarlet Red driver, and he finishes on the podium. Sab will finish fourth with Michela fifth after those penalties. Sean, who led for so long, apart from that contact at turn 1 after the final safety car, he finishes 6th. RJ Batten makes it a VCarb 6-7, finishing in 7th, with Jokies in 8th for Haas. Gavboy finishes 9th ahead of Josh in 10th. Dan Lovett in 11th, with Meldrum in 12th. DJ Sully will come across the line for 13th, and Big Bruiser will finish in 14th, with 3 cars failing to reach the flag. But a race of the season contender here in Imola Incredible stuff from the whole field, and Ryan Brooks stands tall.
Absolutely incredible drive through all different types of struggle. Phenomenal result for him. And great to see a new podium sitter in Jim Strav as well from 15th on the grid.
Now, Lewis, I would ask you who is your driver of the day, but I think you mentioning that pretty much seals it, and I would have to agree. Jim Strav, one of the only men, or I believe the only man, to not get a penalty in this Grand Prix, drove absolutely brilliantly and a well-deserved first time on the podium. But there are your results then. Ryan Brooks takes home the win in Imola, with Quincy finishing in second. Jim Strav finishes on the podium for the first time in third, with Sab Gaming in fourth, McKellar in fifth, Sean in sixth, with a VCarb 6-7 as RJ Batten is in seventh, with Jokies in eighth, Gavboy in ninth, Josh in 10th, Dan Lovett with a poor day from him in 11th, Meldrum in 12th, DJ Sully 13th, with Bruiser, Murray Elliott, Anarchy and Otheniel failing to reach the flag. Well, thank you very much to all the viewers for watching. Make sure you do drop a follow, as we have 6 days this coming week of racing action for you. You do not want to miss it. My name has been Jack. Alongside me has been Lewis. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for some more NRRL racing action. Take care.